Okay, I have recorded this now 3 times, and my computer keeps canceling out, so I'm not quite certain what's going on. I'm going to try this again. Hi. I actually have a massive point to discuss this morning. I just got off of a 1-hour interview with Aurelia Casey and Charlene Jones reviewing The Stain. This is through AVBC Book Club. It was very insightful. It was just an amazing conversation, and it very much ties into something that my husband and I were discussing. Excuse me, I'm just setting up something here, and it ties very much into something that my husband and I were talking about last night. And I walked away from this interview with just my head buzzing, and I just need to talk to get all this out, because my head is going faster than my hands can keep up with typing it all out. Just a quick history. I've known my husband since we were 12. We both came from a very abusive past, and he saw me come to school one day with a black eye. We bonded, and we remained very close for, oh good God, 25 years now. We are 35, and we've been married for 7 years, and we're both quite intellectual. And yes, I might be bragging a little bit. I'm sorry. I've studied philosophy, existentialism, and history, and he has studied, he has a master's degree in organic chemistry. He is a physicist and mathematician, and he also works on, he writes patents for IBM. We got into a conversation last night. This requires a little bit of background. I wrote Broken, and it's all over my website as to why and how, so I'll skip that part. But we basically, when I was done writing Broken, it took me 2 weeks to write 90,000 words, and I recalled everything, all the abuse that I had suffered through for 20 years of my life. And when I was done writing Broken, it landed me in the mental ward for a review. I was placed on medication and placed on therapy. This was April 2nd of this year. So here it is, December 4th. And I came home from therapy last night and had a lot to say to my husband regarding updates and insights. He explained that we had 3 problems, he felt, and that was communication, of course, and a different set of priorities, and our mental issues. In addition to my multiple diagnoses, he also has his own diagnosis. So it's not just him being normal and average and healthy mentally and him trying to help me with my issues. It's very much us trying to mingle and combine our mental issues together to find something that works for us here. There's so much that I said to him last night. I said, well, first of all, that I'm tired. I'm tired of revolving around the rapes that happened and the past and my mental disorders. I am so tired of feeling my body jerk every time I'm triggered or touched unexpectedly or a loud sound goes off. I am tired of trying to have sex with my husband and us tiptoeing around the topic of rape and wondering if I'm going to have a flashback or not. And I'm just at a point where I am so ready to move on from all this and to just live a normal life. Which brings me to the concept of what normal is. One of the things that Charlene Jones was talking about during the interview today was how somebody who has suffered from abuse usually comes from a long line of abuse. And that is primarily what I want to talk about today. That just blew my mind away. Last night I was explaining to my husband that I'm huge on war. I absolutely adore studying the different wars. Not so much the Civil War. I'm talking about World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam, and the Cold War. And I've taken in so much. And if there's a movie out there about any of these wars, I'm the first to get out there, buy them, and look at them. And I analyze them, and I watch how they changed, and how they changed is just amazing. I took a lot of this from MASH, and the fact that MASH was being written during the Vietnam War. The MASH, if you don't know, seriously, what's wrong with you? Please go watch MASH. But for those of you who don't know, MASH is regarding the Korean War. It's more than just the Korean War. It is about the people and the doctors and the nurses who were drafted, forced by our government to go and serve and basically operate on soldiers during the Korean War. They were placed in a mobile Army surgical hospital unit, and they learned that they could significantly reduce the death rate of soldiers if they have surgeons right on staff 3 miles from the front. By all means, take a look at the I believe it's the 54th parallel in Korea during the Korea War, where it's basically the border between North and South Korea, and it moved. And Wikipedia has this wonderful file, a video, where you can play it and see how it changed and fluctuated within months of it, over the period of a 3-year war. And it gives you an idea how much the MASH units had to move. And again, we're talking 3 miles from the front. It was just a very moving picture. But this was filmed during the Vietnam War, which, so insightful. And I am huge with I Love Lucy, The Honeymooners. I watch a lot of Dick Van Dyke Show. So I am very, very familiar with 1950s television. I've also studied Some Like It Hot, which, I'm huge on the DiMaggio incident with Marilyn Monroe. And this all ties together, so just let me connect the strings for you. We'll start with Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio. In the 1960s, I cannot remember the exact year, Marilyn did Some Like It Hot. This was the thing where she went out, and there was a subway sing on the street, where she was standing there, and the subway was blowing up her skirt, and she was holding it down. Everyone knows the thing. Joe got a call saying, you should see what Marilyn's doing now. Joe went out and saw this. There were several men who had seen this, gathered passerbys, and were catcalling and whistling at her, and she just kept doing this thing over and over. Joe begged her to please stop doing it, and she didn't. I don't know how long she continued, but the thing kept rolling, and the next morning, Joe DiMaggio filed for divorce. It absolutely crushed the two of them. The thing that they recorded was absolutely unusable, because there was so much side sound and comments being made. Some Like It Hot had a few other risque scenes going on in it, and prior to Some Like It Hot, there was a board that basically went in and monitored each and every film made, and if you did not meet the board's standards, the film was not allowed to be produced, the scene had to be cut. Some Like It Hot had one thing that was removed. After Some Like It Hot, the board was removed, and the rating system that we have in place today was put in place. From that moment on, we have PG films, rated R, PG-13, and it was all because of Some Like It Hot. The thing that was cut was a thing where Marilyn was in a bathtub, and she got her toe caught in the faucet in the bathtub. She was in a bubble bath, and a fireman had to come out and help her remove her toe. The board felt it was too risque, and it was cut from the movie. In 1969, Louis Armstrong walks on the moon. And then we watch Apollo 11, and that tragedy happened. And in 1975, we took videos over to Vietnam, and we could sit there and watch the war as it took place. This was a topic that was touched on in MASH. I seem like I'm jumping around, but really I have a point. In MASH, there are 2-3 different videos where, well, there's one episode really I want to talk about. It's just amazing. This reporter goes into the MASH unit and speaks to Hawkeye and says, I want to get a video of you guys all in action doing this. And the whole thing, he's recording this video, he's got the video camera rolling, and Hawkeye looks at the video. And instead of it showing the truth, instead of it showing all the children who are dying, the children as in the 18-year-old boys who were shot by the war, instead of showing all of this, he wanted to turn it into a, this is why you should join the war, and kind of a hero march that you saw a lot going on in World War II. Hawkeye was angry, and instead he redid the film. It was just an amazing scene, and I'll probably post it on my site after I'm done with this, and I'll Google it. But Hawkeye got a hold of a video camera and retaped the whole thing. They made a joke of it. There was a lot of Karl Marx humor in it. But at the end of the video, it suddenly stops. And Hawkeye looks up from this man laying in a bed, and he says, "Do you see this man? 2 hours ago he was on the front, and he got shot. 1 hour ago I operated on him. I don't know if he'll be able to make it. I don't know if he'll live. I don't know if he'll die. This is the truth of war." And it was very powerful. I'm going to remind you again, this is about the Korean War, but it was filmed during Vietnam, at a time when video cameras were suddenly cheap enough to go in and record all of this. As a historian, I have sat down many times and said to myself, what happened that everything today is as bad as it is? I have spoken to several women since Broken has been released, and I would love to find one woman who was not raped. All of a sudden these women have opened up to me and told me about their stories. And women I've known for years, every one of them has been raped or sexually assaulted somehow. It's astounding. And I'm going, with school shootings and everything going on today, really, what happened? I did a lot of research for Dollar and Shadow. I went back to the 10th century, Norway, and I read some pretty horrible stuff that was going on then. I've been back to Rome, looked up a lot of the horrible stuff that happened then. Huge fan of Ben-Hur. And I've gone back to Hammurabi's Code. If you look at the laws in Hammurabi's Code, the laws tell you a lot about what was going on at the time period. And that is when I realized something. Well, that's when I realized two things. The first thing I want to talk about is Dickens, Charles Dickens. At the time that I picked up Charles Dickens, it was Oliver Twist, and then it was David Copperfield, and then I watched Sweeney Todd. And I stepped back from this time period and went, London is, well, let me rephrase, London was dirty, the time period was atrocious, child abuse was, it was like Charles Dickens told the truth. And this brings me to the other side of things when I look back at it, and I saw, it's just amazing what I saw. I saw a Victorian Christmas. I'm going to go ahead and stop it here with Dickens and Victorian Christmas because I don't trust my video, so I'm going to make this like a part 1, part 2. And it should probably be easier for you guys to watch.